traffic lights, 2 lanes, and even a tourist trap. These are not things that are associated with interstate highways, or are they? A while back, we went over the rules and regulations that make up interstate highway standards. And if you haven't seen that one yet, the video will be linked in the description. And on this video, we're going to take a look at a few examples of signed interstates that violate those standards, how they came to be, and if they will ever be brought up to the standard. Hit the like button, buckle up, and let's talk about the highways that break the rules. One of the most well understood standards of the interstate highway system is the fact that these highways are controlled access, meaning that one can only enter and exit from them through designated entrance and exit ramps, and that grade crossings and traffic lights are prohibited. So our first violation of the standards involves just that, traffic lights on a freeway. I give you Interstate 676 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Interstate 676 is an auxiliary route of the parent I-76 in the Philadelphia Metro. It starts over in Camden, New Jersey, a state which I've mentioned on previous videos, that actually does a superior job with its roadways compared to its neighbors. After a smooth ride on the New Jersey side, you pay the toll, because of course you have to pay to leave New Jersey. You cross the iconic Benjamin Franklin Bridge with some spectacular views of the Philadelphia skyline. Then boom, the shock of your interstate loving life, traffic lights. Yep, traffic lights on an interstate right here at I-676 and Franklin Street. Now this is an obvious violation of the rule of no grade intersections on an interstate. I-676 was routed through this intersection in order to avoid Franklin Square and other sensitive areas nearby. And today, to no surprise, it is one of the most dangerous intersections in Philadelphia, with many crashes and pedestrian fatalities. It is unlikely that the traffic lights will be removed. However, the Vine Street Expressway portion is due for a freeway cap in the future to reconnect affected neighborhoods from its original construction. Nearby in neighboring New Jersey is another grade intersection violation, and that is Interstate 78 in Jersey City. Interstate 78 travels eastbound from the I-95 mainline portion of the New Jersey Turnpike towards Jersey City as the Bay extension of the New Jersey Turnpike. This route is used for those wanting to enter New York City through the Holland Tunnel. As you come around the curve, you see the slowdown. The neighborhood starts to look rough and run down. The roadway surface itself falls into terrible conditions by New Jersey standards. And you are greeted by buildings where the locals have decided to display their artistic skills with several designs on them. And on this highway, you see not one, not two, but 4 signalized intersections. This is quite possibly the longest continuous violation of interstate standards on the entire system. Then, eventually, you enter the Holland Tunnel, bound for Manhattan, New York. And to no surprise, this is a major bottleneck in the New York, New Jersey area, and you'll be lucky to move through here without stopping several times. Interstate 78 was allowed this violation due to the heavily developed part of Jersey City that it passes through. To build a freeway up to standards in this area would have required an unacceptable financial cost, so it was given a waiver to leave the grade intersections in place. It's pretty safe to say that this interstate violation will remain, as there is little incentive to spend the amount of money that it will cost to upgrade the surface route to a freeway in the area. Interstate 78 is all kinds of jacked up, and the New Jersey section is no different. Up next, we head out west to a town that I'm nearby right now, Cheyenne, Wyoming. In Cheyenne, the violation is Interstate 180. If we want to even call this sad excuse of a thing an interstate, that is. Interstate 180 is unique in that none of the route is up to interstate standards. It's basically a boulevard that connects Interstate 80 to downtown Cheyenne, with 5 signalized intersections along it. Even the interchange with I-80 is a simple diamond interchange with traffic lights, something that is unacceptable for interstate to interstate connections. Now, this wasn't the original plan for Interstate 180. Originally, it was intended to have a full freeway to freeway interchange with I-80, but the feds rejected Wyoming's proposed design due to the cost. Eventually, the current setup was approved and allowed by the Federal Highway Administration, and so here we are today. Wyoming has no plans nor money to consider upgrading I-180, so this violation shall remain. Then over in New York, we have a minor violation. This one is on Interstate 81 just before heading into Canada. At the interchange with New York 12, you have the ramp from New York 12 coming to a stop at the interstate, which basically amounts to a grade intersection. Then shortly afterwards, you have another grade intersection with a service road for access to a nearby police station. And while we're at it, the I-81 Thousand Islands Bridge itself is an interstate standard violation. Right after the previously mentioned section, I-81 drops to 1 lane on each side to cross the St. Lawrence River. This violates the rule of interstates having at least 2 lanes on each side and having a median to divide the directions of traffic. After the bridge, it does reopen to 4 lanes before crossing into Canada. And our next violation is in the free state of New Hampshire. Live free or die is what they say in those parts. Here we have Interstate 93. On Interstate 93 in the northern part of the state, as you enter Franconia State Park, you head north, then one of the lanes drop on each side, and you'll find yourself on what we call a Super 2. Basically a freeway with 1 lane on each side rather than the standard 2 lanes on each side. The freeway remains up to standard otherwise, with the median separating traffic as well as proper exits for access. This highway didn't get the full 4 lanes due to environmental concerns. A major rock formation known as the Old Man of the Mountain was of particular concern if a 4-lane highway was built in the area. Eventually, the formation collapsed anyway in 2003. I-93 is the longest 2-lane segment of interstate highway on the system at 7.6 miles, and it is safe to say that it will remain a Super 2 freeway in this area. And up next we have Interstate 70 in West Virginia. After you cross the state line from Ohio and begin approaching the Wheeling Tunnel, you'll lose a lane at the exit for US 40 into downtown. Right before entering the tunnel, another lane rejoins the interstate, bringing it back to 4 lanes. So this violation only lasts for about 1,000 feet. And this violation will likely remain as I-470 is available to the south for drivers who wish to bypass the I-70 bottleneck in Wheeling. Over in Michigan, we have a famous violation on Interstate 75, the Mackinac Bridge. The famous bridge, which connects the lower and upper peninsulas of Michigan, violates the median and shoulder requirements for interstate highways. The bridge has 4 lanes but does not have a wide median. It does not have a Jersey barrier either, which many other interstates use in space-constrained areas. The Mackinac Bridge instead has a simple yellow divider that is slightly raised between the opposing lanes of traffic. So riding on this bridge, you get the rare experience of being up close and personal with interstate traffic that is heading in the opposite direction. The speed limit is reduced to 45 miles per hour though, so at least you won't see high-speed maneuvers in this tight situation. And for obvious reasons, this violation will remain for the foreseeable future. And finally, we get over to perhaps the most famous interstate standards violation, Breezewood. Breezewood, oh, Breezewood. In Breezewood, Pennsylvania, I-70 crosses over I-76, the Pennsylvania Turnpike, with no direct interchange. Instead, drivers come to a signalized intersection with US 30 and then must use that roadway to continue onto I-70 through the toll booth, and then enter the Pennsylvania Turnpike where I-70 joins I-76. Breezewood is known as a major choke point on the interstate highway system, with significant amounts of long-distance truckers and other travelers forced to stop and drive through the tourist-trapped businesses that line US 30. Breezewood came to be because Pennsylvania wanted to use federal funds for a design that would have required drivers on the free Interstate 70 to be funneled into the tolled Pennsylvania Turnpike without an option to exit to a toll-free alternative route. The Pennsylvania Turnpike Commission had a choice of either removing the tolls once the bonds expired or build the interchange with its own funds. Now you know Pennsylvania is not going to remove those tolls. And also fearing losing toll revenue to Interstate 80's completion, they chose not to construct that interchange. So instead, the current design was built as it qualified for federal funds and allows drivers to choose US 30 rather than being forced into the turnpike. Businesses in the area have opposed later efforts to construct an actual interchange between the two interstates as they fear a loss of revenue if travelers can bypass the area. Never say never with Breezewood, but it will likely at least remain this way in the near future. And lastly, there are several minor grade intersections along various interstates around the country. First, there's I-10 in West Texas. Out here you can find numerous grade intersections with minor roadways for rural traffic to directly enter and exit the interstate. These roads connect to various ranches and properties in the area, and it probably wouldn't make financial sense to ever construct actual interchange with I-10 for them. One of America's newest interstates, Interstate 11, has a great intersection for access to Buchanan Boulevard in Boulder City, Nevada. And over in North Carolina, one can find several great intersections with I-40 in the Appalachian Mountains. These are a similar situation to I-10 in Texas, where the traffic counts are too low and the financial cost too high to ever construct full interchanges with these roadways. Not to mention the high difficulty from an engineering standpoint of building mountain interchanges in North Carolina on top of that. Also on I-40 in Texas are several great intersections. Similar to I-10, these intersections allow access to rural ranches in the area that wouldn't be feasible for constructing full interchanges and will require ranchers to drive long distances to an actual interchange if these great intersections were removed. Then out in the great state of Utah, a place I spent quite a bit of time recently, is Interstate 80. On I-80 through the Great Salt Lake Desert, there are a couple of gravel roads that directly intersect the highway to give access to the Tree of Utah and other nearby areas. And the last grade crossing on the list is down south in Augusta, Georgia. In Augusta, I-520 has a grade intersection with a side roadway that allows access to Lover's Lane. This road is partially paved and appears to get light use. I didn't see any signage restricting use, so it looks like civilians can use it as well. And there we have it, a list of some interstate standard violations around America. Those highways that just don't want to follow the rules. Let me know if you guys have any personal experiences with any of these violating roadways. Or if you know some more violations that were not mentioned in the video. And do you think any of these violations will ever be brought up to standard in the future? Let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.